He only wanted easy money, but the price he paid was far greater than he ever imagined. It all started with a touch, a simple 100 real bill, tossed onto an old wooden table. Still damp with sweat and despair, he picked it up with a trembling hand, eyes gleaming with that dangerous mix of greed and relief. But the moment his fingers touched the paper, it started to burn, not as an illusion, not as a metaphor. It really burned, as if every digit printed on it carried the weight of a silent pact. And now, it was collecting the price. His skin began to blister, as if the money wasn't made of paper, but of burning coals. He screamed, but no one answered, because when you accept a gift from hell, there's no point crying out to heaven. And this is the story of an ordinary man who only wanted to get rich, but ended up touching something no human ever should. And now, every time a new bill crosses his path, the fire returns, like a living curse. Do you still think easy money exists? Stay until the end. Because what started with a simple transaction will end in agony, guilt, and flames. A man like any other, early 30s, but eyes far too tired for his age. The unshaven beard reveals the rush, or maybe the surrender. He wakes up early every day, even if there's nowhere left to go. Gets out of bed as if he's carrying cement. Bags on his back. The room is dark, but the bills on the wall shine like beacons of failure. Late rent, electricity cut, bad credit. The unpaid notices are piled up on the kitchen table, held by a fridge magnet that says it will be okay. A cruel irony that hurts more than it helps. He tries to smile at his little daughter while hiding the stale bread inside a cloth, as if it were something special. But the child knows Juo has tried everything, sold his tools, did night shifts and odd jobs, even signed up for an online course on how to make money with cryptocurrency. But the course became just another debt. And as the days pass, the anxiety grows. It doesn't scream. It doesn't make a scene. But it presses down on the chest like a silent demon, stealing the air, robbing the sleep. And then, in a shady online group, a message appears, promising easy money, no paperwork, no questions. It felt like relief, wrapped in fine print. But Juo didn't yet know the price that came with it. And so, between unpaid bills and a final sip of courage, he said yes to something he never should have, and his world would never be the same again. Desperation has a smell. It's sour, warm. It clings to clothes, to skin, to the pillow where Juo turns from side to side, unable to sleep. The bills didn't stop coming. The food started running out, and his daughter's eyes, once light and carefree, now felt heavy, because children don't understand words like default, interest rates, maxed out credit, but they feel everything. Juo started walking slower, staring more at the ground than the sky. And then the thought came, if life doesn't play fair, why should I? That's when the desire showed up. It wasn't just about paying the bills anymore. It was about flipping the game, climbing out of the mud with his chest held high, becoming someone, proving he made it, buying what he never had, wearing dignity like an expensive pair of shoes. He started searching online, how to make fast money, secret jobs that pay, forbidden methods to get rich. With every click, the abyss seemed smaller, and the more he watched people flaunting cars and mansions, the more he felt like he was falling behind. He wanted that now. Then a group appeared, private, with a strange name, and even stranger promises. Money in 7 days, no boss, no resume, just courage. Juo hesitated for a few seconds, but he clicked on the other side. Someone was waiting, a mentor. He didn't say much, but one thing was clear. The price wasn't in currency. It was in risk. It was something much deeper. Juo wanted out of misery, but without knowing it, he was opening the door to something far worse. Because the universe always collects its debt, and sometimes it collects in flesh. It was on a night when the cold seemed to come from inside. not from the wind, but from something that scraped at the chest from within. Duo was walking alone. The streets were empty. No cars, no laughter, no TV sounds leaking from windows. Only the sound of his own footsteps, and a low hum that grew, as if the world itself was holding its breath. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A message. Are you ready to change your life without thinking? He followed the address. An alley so obscured not even GPS recognized it. Flickering lights, broken street lamps. The kind of place where even silence seems to watch you. And then, he appeared, not out of nowhere, but as if he had always been there, just waiting. Tall, impeccably dressed. No horns, no glowing red eyes. But something in his presence chilled the air and made Duo's bones ache. He was the kind of figure who didn't need to shout to be heard. He spoke softly, like someone whispering promises directly into your soul. You're tired of suffering, Duo. I know. You want out, fast. No more humiliation. No more hunger. No more failure. Duo didn't answer. But he didn't run either. I can give you what you want, everything. Money, power, respect, fast. No questions asked. And then he smiled, a cold smile, toothless, soulless. Every fortune comes with a debt, and yours will be paid. In pieces, a chill ran down Duo's spine. But the fear wasn't stronger than the hope of escaping the miserable life. He looked around. The city was dark. The world felt paused. He was alone with the devil and the decision that would change everything. And then he reached out his hand, because sometimes the hand that pulls you out of the mud is the same one that drags you into hell. Duo could still hear the sound of his own heart beating hard, dry, as if already warning him that something was about to go wrong. But there, in that alley outside of time, fear had been numbed by something far more powerful, desperate. Hope. The demon wasn't in a hurry. He moved with the calm of someone who already knew the answer. From inside his coat, he pulled out a contract. It was old, but not ancient. The paper seemed to pulse. The letters shifted subtly, like worms crawling under skin. And at the top, in dark red, the phrase, all that you desire, at the cost of who you are. Duo tried to read the terms, but the words tangled his mind. The more he tried to understand, the more confused he became. It was like trying to decipher a language made of promises, written in poison. You don't need to understand everything right now, said the demon. With that sweet tone only those who sell damnation know how to use. You just need to accept and sign. From his inner pocket, he pulled out a strange pen. It wasn't made of metal or plastic. It looked like twisted bone. And when Duo grabbed it, it cut his finger. The blood fell straight onto the paper. The contract began to glow, not with light, but with something warmer, as if it were hungry. It is done, said the entity with a satisfied smile. Now, Duo, the world will be yours. Just don't say you didn't know the price. In that instant, a suitcase appeared at Duo's feet, open, full of money, crisp new bills, glowing like cursed gold. He collapsed to his knees. Not from pain, but from relief. Finally, his luck had turned, or at least, that's what he thought. Because when you make a pact with hell, the most expensive part isn't what's written down. It's what hides between the lines, silent and fatal. The silence was absolute. Not even the crickets dared to sing. Not even the wind passed through their. Duo was trembling, but not from fear. It was anxiety, the same he'd felt handing over a resume, asking to buy on credit at the market, promising his daughter things will get better next week. Only now, he could change everything. With a single gesture, the contract still glowed with that dirty, almost organic shine. It wasn't light. It was heat, as if it were alive, as if it knew it was about to feed on another soul. The bone-made pen was still in his hand, heavier than it seemed, and the cut on his finger is still bleeding. Duo took a deep breath, closed. His eyes and sign. The pen's tip touched the paper, and the blood was sucked in like it had a will of its own. It didn't spread. It drew the letters by itself, forming his full name with terrifying precision. At that moment, a muffled sound echoed off the walls, like a collective whisper of ancient voices saying, "Welcome." The demon smiled. "It is done." The paper folded itself. The cut on his finger vanished. But something inside Juo changed too. Something he couldn't name, but could feel. He was no longer just himself. Now, he belonged to something. Something greater, and much, much darker. But in his mind, only one thing mattered. The money would come. Finally, the suffering was over. Little did he know, the real pain was only just beginning. The next day, everything felt different. The air tasted sweeter, almost unreal. The walls of the dirty apartment began to glow with a light that had never been there before. A light coming from paid bills, from the lights left on, from the sound of a car on the street that wasn't old. Juo woke up and, for the first time in months, felt the weight of hope becoming light. His phone buzzed nonstop, notifications of deposits, transfers, earnings that couldn't fit on the screen. He no longer had to count coins to buy bread. He no longer feared the phone ringing. The table gained new plates, shiny forks, and even an expensive wine he wasn't sure he liked, but held with pride. Juo started going to places he had only seen on TV before. Restaurants, shops, parties. He wore expensive clothes, drove a shiny car, and felt eyes on him, eyes that had never noticed his existence before. Everything was so fast, so intense, so perfect. But deep in his eyes, something began to burn, a strange, unsettling feeling, as if the shadow of the pact whispered, reminding him that this luxury had a price he hadn't yet paid. The life he always wanted had arrived, but peace that he already sensed was an illusion. Because some changes don't happen without consequences. At first, it was almost imperceptible. A strange tingling at the tips of Juo's fingers whenever he touched any bill. He thought it was fatigue, stress, something temporary. But soon the sensation turned into pain, a sharp, burning pain. As if every cent he touched was scorching hot. It was like holding a piece of invisible fire. His skin began to sting, to burn slowly, even without a visible flame. He tried to ignore it, to pretend it was just his imagination, that it was all in his head, a consequence of the fear of losing everything again. But the pain only grew. New bills, old bills, money in any form. It didn't matter. The fire seemed to be in every note, spreading through his hand, burning his soul along with it. Juo started hiding the money, avoiding direct contact, wearing gloves, trying to count it carefully. But nothing eased the torment. It was as if the money had become a living curse, a silent, constant, and relentless punishment. And with every touch, the reminder, not everything that glitters is a blessing. The price of that wealth was being paid in his own flesh. When the pain became unbearable, Juo knew he couldn't pretend anymore. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a temporary side effect. It was something deeper. Desperate, he plunged into a frantic search in the silence of the night. He rummaged through yellowed pages of old books found in second-hand shops and forgotten libraries. He flipped through dusty texts that spoke of rituals, pacts, and curses. Dark stories whispered as if those who told them feared the evil itself might return. That's when he found it. Cases like his, people who had sold their souls for quick wealth, who got what they wanted, but whose price was a life marked by suffering, tragedy, and loss. Accounts of burned hands, invisible torments, a fire that never goes out. Every word he read tightened the knot in his chest. It was a warning, a sentence, a bitter confirmation. He was not alone. But there was no escape either. The truth crushed him. He had made a pact with something that could not be bargained with, and now he had to find out if there was a way to break the chain, or if his fate was to suffer. Until the end, amid the dark search, Juo began to realize something even more terrifying. It wasn't just the flames on his skin. It was as if the fire had invaded his spirit, eating away every piece of hope he had. But the question hammering in his mind, day and night, was one. What if there was no turning back? Juo tried everything. He threw the bills into the fire, but they reappeared intact. As if mocking the flames, he buried the money in the ground. But the next day, there they were again, shining under the moonlight like a living trap. He tried to donate, sell, even tear the bills, but the touch was inevitable. The pain always returned. The curse wasn't in the money. He finally understood. It was in him. The pact made in those silent shadows had been an iron bond. Invisible and unbreakable, each day it consumed his health, sleepless nights. Hands marked by burns that never healed. A body weakening under the weight of guilt and fear. His mind, once steady, now wavered amidst dark thoughts and whispering voices that tormented him without end. He saw himself trapped in a prison without bars, where luxury gleamed outside. But inside there was only darkness. Juo realized there was no turning back. The money he had longed for, the wealth he had gained, was now his sentence. And the price, it was being paid with his own life, little by little, in silence, until nothing remained. The true punishment of the pact wasn't the fire in his hands. It was the fire that burned his soul, and Juo was being consumed. Juo was standing at the edge of the abyss each night. The weight of the curse grew heavier. But inside him, a stubborn flame still burned, the will to be free. Desperate, he plunged into the occult, searching for ancient rituals, forgotten secrets, and forbidden magic. His room became a sanctuary of symbols scratched into the floor. Black candles burning down to the wick, and pages scribbled with formulas he could barely pronounce. He knew he was playing with fire, a fire far more real and dangerous than the burns on his hand. But there was no choice. On the night of the attempt, the air grew thick and heavy. Whispers began to fill the silence, invisible voices trying to break him down. Shadows took threatening shapes, trying to grab his body, pull his soul away. Juo fought with all his might, fear, courage, and desperation woven into every move. The pact didn't want to let go that easily. It was a battle with no guarantees, where one mistake could mean losing everything, forever. But in that fierce moment of struggle, he realized something. True freedom might not be about defeating the demon, but accepting the price and choosing his own fate. At the end of the story, Juo was no longer the same man who sought easy wealth. He learned the hard way that money isn't always what it seems. Sometimes it burns, not just the skin, but the spirit. He only wanted money, but discovered that some riches carry an invisible fire, a hidden price no material value can pay. And here's the warning: not every desire is worth the sacrifice. Not every door that opens closes without leaving marks. Sometimes, what seems like a solution is the beginning of the worst torment. Think carefully about the choices you make, because not everything that glitters is gold, and some flames burn forever. After all, the true value of life lies in what money can't buy, and the greatest pact we make is with our own conscience. If you enjoyed this dark story and want more mysteries and infernal pacts, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And tell me in the comments, if you had to make a pact, what would your wish be? And would you be willing to pay the price? I want to know your opinion.